continuing with what the previous speaker spoke about. So I'm just talking about the next generation campus networks. If you look at last 2 to 3 years, right? Everyone is talking about trends, mega trends. Trends are changing, right? There is a lot of trends happening in the industry. To be very frank, there are a lot of trends happening in the industry. But when we look at our customers, right? When we look at our customers, they are trying to adapt to those trends and change the way they want to do the business, right? Because we are seeing cloud, we are talking about BYOD, we are talking about today, like in the recent 2 to 3 months or 6 months, if you have seen, the buzzword is SDN, right? Software-defined networking is the buzzword today, and this is our trend, right? So these are the trends, and the customers are trying to adapt to this. So, but what we see from the OEM perspective, or from the manufacturing industry perspective, or from looking at the customers, is that network is the key. Someone asked a question in the earlier this one, that what happens to the network infrastructure, right? Network infrastructure is critical, and it is a common element which binds together the trends and what we want to do with them, right? So this is very key. Network is very key and very critical. So if you look at your networks, or if you look at the networks which you had deployed 2 to 3 years back, is it able to adapt to those trends and changes what's happening, right? And will it be able to cope up and provide the same services or the new services which you want to run over this network? That too with effectively and efficient. That is very important, right? So I'll be covering trends, I'll be covering some of the challenges what we see to adapt to those trends, and some of the key solutions which we can look at in terms of building the campus networks. Because today when I talk about campus networks, please don't think that it is just like a campus where we put a network and build and run the services. Because today when we talk about campus networks, there is no any boundaries being defined. Because today there are no boundaries because of the proliferation of devices, right? The applications, the consolidation happening, the cloud trends coming up, private, hybrid, public. So there are no boundaries as such when we talk about campus networks. But how efficiently you can drive these new services, right, over your network is the key. So and also, I just wanted to talk about is mobile internet. This is very well said in the earlier speaker that it is not mobile devices, it is the mobility which matters. Because mobile devices only give you the connectivity to the applications what you need to connect. But mobility is the one which gives you the access and which gives you anywhere, anytime, wherever you want the access at the right time, the critical information coming to your right place to take the critical decisions. That is what we call as mobility, right? It is not mobile, it is mobility what matters. And today, if you see, the devices which are able to connect to these applications and provide you this kind of major critical decisions to be taken at the right time is surpassing the computers. Computers are dissolving, right? It was a good example. Computers are dissolving because these devices are becoming more and more powerful. And they are able to provide those kind of services what you are looking for. So that is where the mobility comes into place. Sorry. And then explosive growth, right? The data analytics, the big data analysis, all those things, what we are talking about as a trend is actually true. And what the report says is that by 2016, we can see data to the level of 22 zettabytes kind of data. And then, when we look at all this, what is the key concern for IT manager or for the CIO or for anyone in the organization? It is the security, right? Because, as I said, now campus, you can't define the boundaries. Yes. The boundaries are depleted. So once you do this, then you can't have like what we used to have security earlier, like perimeter security. I put some firewalls, I put some IPSs, I put some SIEMs and say that yes, I am secure. No. Because you are allowing devices, you are allowing people to connect from anywhere. security becomes a key concern. And today, security is not about only attacking your applications. It is also, security is the one which is attacking the devices. It is me, it is not me. They are hitting the devices, they are hitting the Web 2.0 applications, right? Because port 80 is open. So these are the things which are actually takes you to look at next generation campus networks. And also if you look at this, when we talk about applications and apps, there is a difference, right? Apps are more for the mobility. Applications are more for the desktop applications. So when we look at this actually coming together, so the software applications are leveraging the mobility and building those apps to provide information to the users so that they can effectively use it and make it productive. So the increase in productivity is because of these apps being developed and using mobility as the key trend. So why I'm talking about all this is that when you look at this, there is a lot of data, there is a lot of services, and there is a lot of security concerns also coming. So the network becomes very big, right? And you look at education. There's huge initiatives, huge trends going on in education. Today, even EIT has built an NK network, National Knowledge Network, which connects universities and colleges across India, more than 1,000 to 2,500 universities and colleges. They connect to R&D centers, they do video conferencing, they do distance learning, right? All this, and even the universities providing devices to the students. They are using iPads, they are using tablets, they are using the internet, they are using the distance learning. So there's a lot of things happening even in the education sector, even in the healthcare. So this mobility, these trends are really being adapted, right? One of the examples I just wanted to put up is that in America there is a university. If you see the graph, actually in the fall there is around 50,000 students and there is around 40,000 sessions which comes up because they use multiple tablets. And by 2011, when they came back again into the fall, if you see there is again increase in the sessions to about 3 million because they had multiple devices. Each student had multiple devices. So the growth is huge. So you need to plan in such a way that it can adapt to any growth and also it can adapt to any applications what you want to use in the future. That is critical. Right? So why I'm saying all this is, if you look at this, I don't want to go through it, but the benefits for the employers, the benefit for the employees, the adaptability of the BYOD, right? Now BYOD has become a reality. It's a reality and the customers have started adapting BYOD. Maybe in a different ways, but there is a keenness, they are looking at it and they know their productivity will increase. So the BYOD is become a reality and they are going to adapt. Right. So looking at all these trends, what are the drivers which makes the next generation campus? Right? As I spoke about, it is more bad. Today when we talk about 1 gig days are gone, right? Earlier we used to talk about 1 gig connectivity, 10/100 connectivity. Today we don't talk about those things. We talk about 40 gig, we talk about 100 gig kind of capacities which we want in the campus networks. Right? And also in the campus we talk about highly powered cameras, surveillance cameras. We talk about wireless. And also we talk about integrated security. Today people are talking about, if you know, in the cloud, in the data center, we talk about orchestration of data center. What does it mean? Orchestration of data center. So in campus, we are talking about orchestration of security, federation of security, coordinated security. So there is a lot of terms which are coming up which are actually make sense when you adopt these kind of trends into your networks. So, and also more applications, as I said, apps, applications. There are huge number of applications, there are huge number of apps which are coming up. So you need to provide those services onto the network. You can't make the network stand still. It has to be agile. It has to provide those dynamics. It has to have the dynamism to provide this kind of, if you want to run these kind of services on your network. Right? So now if you look at the enterprise landscape, it completely changes. Can you see this? And you think of your networks, what has been deployed. Right? There is a huge thing. BYOD. When I talk about BYOD, what do you think of in the network perspective? From the network perspective, it is more wireless than wired. That is the key. Earlier, what we used to do, how we used to design the networks, it was all casual wireless. We used to put some APs in conference room, we used to put some APs in the reception, and we used to say that, okay, we have enabled the wireless for the employees. But does it make sense today? No, you can't, because the wireless has become the key than the wire. Because the devices what is coming in the market are all wireless, are all Wi-Fi enabled. Even the Mac books, the Mac notebooks are Wi-Fi. If you want an Ethernet, you need to buy a USB. Correct? It's the other way around thing. So the wire, that is what the key is. And unified policy security orchestration. I can't go and put static security, ACLs, firewall filters into every device in the network. Automated provisioning, ease of management. Then also, if you look at from the data center perspective, mobility, agility, orchestration of the data center. So all this will put together, it makes you an enterprise campus network. So moving across, even the traffic flows have changed. Today in the networks, the traffic flows, what we talk about have changed. In data center, we talk about east to west because of the SOA architecture, because of the Web 2.0. The applications talk to each other in the data center. So it was not like server and client kind of interaction today. It is beyond interaction. Right? We talk about VXLAN, we talk about NVGRE, we talk about MPLS over GRE. So these are the interactions which happen within the data center. So Google has done a study. They said if a person wants to access something, 20 bytes go inside the data center and only 5 bytes goes out of the data center. That is the way interactions happen. In the same way in the campus, you have all the devices on Wi-Fi enabled. You have voice, you have unified communication systems. So there is a lot of transactions happen between the employees, between the devices, machine to machine and the employees. That is what is happening today. So it's a north, south, east, west directions. And you need to simplify the infrastructure when you want to provide this kind of services. You need to simplify. Right? And then increase the scale in terms of new trends which you need to adapt. These are the key. Right? So that's what I had put. The world is on the network can't stand still. But if you flip it around, actually the world is a campus today. Because your employees can access the applications anywhere, anytime. So for him, the world is a campus. But network should be agile. So see how it has changed the trend. From wired to wireless, I spoke about it. The BYOD concept. So now the wireless has become, people talking about today 1 gig on wireless. People are talking about dense wireless solutions. Wi-Fi offload solutions. So wireless is the key. Then BYOD, it can be employee owned, it can be corporate owned. At the end of the day, IT wants to have the control. As simple as that. So that is what is the key. And then when I talk about applications, yes, today the applications are evolving. So your network has to adapt to those applications and provide those kind of services. So you cannot have multiple isolated networks today, but you need to have a unified network. So these are some of the trends which have changed in terms of campus perspective. So if you look, when we look at then what makes critical, whatever we talk about UIOT, we talk about cloud, we talk about mobility, we talk about security, but at the end of the day, unless your foundation is not strong, unless your network is not strong, then you can't run those services and provide the same experience to the employees what they want, or to the contractors, or to the guests, whomever you want to bring into your network. So this is what is the key. So if you want to stay competitive, then you need to open up. You need to adapt UIO. You need to provide services. Then you need to have reliability. And it should be cost effective, right? All those things have to be considered. So this is what I say. The word is on the movement. So now if you look at, there are proliferation of devices. There are access from anywhere, anytime. And you have consolidated your data centers. So now you have created a cloud of yourself, and there is a big network in between. So all this put together is what you need to create the complete next generation campus network. So the challenges: user wants freedom, IT wants control, and CIO wants protection. Simple. This is what it is, right? Because they want to have access anywhere, anytime, with any of the device what they bring in. Maybe employee owned or it may be corporate owned, but IT wants to have control because they don't want to use control on the devices what they bring in, and they need to take care of the security, but CIO wants to protect. Right? So the campus challenges, I don't want to go again and again, like its management, complexity, efficiency, and multi-tenancy. Today we see a lot of multi-tenancy in all the IT, ATS sectors or in airports. There is a lot of multi-tenancy networks which are coming up. So just a network blueprint, what I have put is some of the key network principles what we adapt is that if you build a flatter and a simple network, don't create three-tier architectures, don't create complexity in the network, make it simple. Like deploy an agile solution. Today you can't have a static solution of the network. It should have dynamism and it should be agile. It should be able to adapt to any of the client solutions. That is the key. Automated provisioning. When I say automated provisioning, that means that anything what you provision should, depending upon the user, what it comes in, what he wants to connect, what he wants to access, how do you define those policies across the network dynamically at a particular point of time? It is what I talk about automated provisioning. It is not just a management. It is not just defining a policy and pushing it to the devices. No. When a user comes in, what is his policy, what is his VLAN, what is his QoS, what is his ACL, dynamically if I can push across the network is what I call it as automated policy. Okay. Any point security. Today you can't define security only in data center, or you can't define security with enabling some ACLs in the network. Security should be looked from end to end, from user to device to application to network. That is what we call about point security. And I talked about unified wireless and wired network. So flatter and simple network is about network management across the core application and accesses, resiliency, scale, and virtualization. How it works is, for example, if you have multiple switches in a campus, if you can put together as a one single clustered switch. That means, for example, if I have 10 switches which are connecting to the users, if I can put them as a single logical switch and have a single IP address management for those 10 switches, and I upgrade one of the switches and that will upgrade rest of the 9 switches in the cluster, right? If one of the switches fail, the other switches take over as the primary, correct? They do distributed forwarding, and I don't have to go and upgrade each and every switch in a flow. I upgrade one switch and that switch will upgrade the rest of the 9 switches. I have only one single IP address to manage, and I see 10 modules in my management software wherein I can easily find out there is 48, 52, 72, 82, 100 ports as a single logical switch, but they are all one use. So this is something which we talk about flattening the network and making it easy and simple to manage, right? So that's what it is. One switch to configure and one switch to manage, right? I have taken one example. For example, in a company there are 4,000 employees, 10 buildings, 400 users and 4 floors, right? How many switches you need to manage is approximately 124 switches, right? Now if you bring this technology in and then see what happens, right? Immediately you see the managed access switches comes to 10, managed aggregation switches comes to 2, managed host switches comes to 1, and total number of managed switches you need to manage is just 30. See the difference. It's so easy when you have to adapt to a flatter and a simple network. So now you can see the total managed switches have become 30. This technology is available with everyone. It is not just because of Juniper. But that is a thing which you need to look at and you need to adapt to. You can't have switching and you can't manage it. It becomes very complex. There are ways and means. There are technologies which are available, which you can make your network flatter, simpler, and easy to manage. This is one of the examples I just wanted to put across. Right? Taking it forward, I was just talking about SDN. Today in data centers, SDN is the buzzword. Why? Because orchestration of the network. One. Second, what is SDN actually? What is software defined network? What they say is that I centralize my control plane as much as possible and I distribute my forwarding plane across the network. The intelligence I like to centralize it and my forwarding I need to keep it distributed. That is what SDN talks about, right? But SDN talks about further. It talks about orchestration. It talks about how, for example, today, have you thought of that when you have a network and when you have applications, what is the QoS, what is the mechanisms you do on the network? You do it statically, right? Because if there is voice, I say this is a real-time application, I have to put it in the high queue. If this is data, I put it in a low queue. So we decide and we do the QoS mechanisms on the network. But what SDN talks about is that when there is an application, if I can take the characteristics of the application and push those characteristics onto the network and provide those quality of service mechanisms to the application. That means I have two interfaces, one on the northbound, one on the southbound. I take the characteristics of the application and then I put the same characteristics onto the network on the southbound interface. So that I understand his requirements and I provision those requirements onto the network. That is what is another way of looking at SDN. It is not just centralizing the control plane and then enabling the forwarding. Okay, so that is one of the things which I wanted to talk about is people, there are a lot of things happening in this. I just wanted to give a highlight. It is not actually being adapted, but what I wanted to say is as they are looking at data center, they are also looking at the campus perspective, how we can make the campus SDN ready in all these critical things, workflow automation, application awareness. That's what I was talking about, bandwidth calculating, role-based application for BYOD, dynamic service training. This is very important, right? Because when any traffic comes in, you send it to a firewall. After that, you open it, you send it to an IPS, you send it to SIEM, you send it to analytics. But if you can change the same traffic in one shot without opening the packet again and again and again, what it gives you the better experience. Low latency, high quality, high throughput. So these are the things which the SDN can bring in the campus, right? So these are some of the things which we need to look at. So the first step to SDN, what has been seen is something known as node unification solution in the campus. This is something unique, right? What happens is I talked about, for example, 10 switches in a cluster having a single IP address management. But think of a campus having multiple cluster switches, right? If I can use all these cluster switches together as a single IP address management and as one single vertical switch, how does it go? That means you are creating a fabric on a campus. A single fabric campus architecture. That is what customers are looking at. I don't have to manage multiple clusters of switches with multiple IP addresses and management and troubleshooting and all. If I can have the entire campus switches seen by two core switches as the 9 modules, and they all have one logical kind of a switch approach, how does it look? What happens? Then, if you look at this, then I can do the complete configuration of the entire campus from the core switches. These are the two core switches, these are the satellites. So provisioning from single point, management from single point, SNMP tracks from single point, everything from single point. I don't have to go and touch these satellites at all. Anywhere in your campus, and please bother. I build a network as a single fabric network where I provision, manage, do everything from one single point. This is what SDN talks about. This is the first step towards SDN. SDN talks more, but in the campus, this is the first step what they are taking. Right? So see the deployment scenarios. You can have any kind of deployment scenarios. You can have star topology, you can have ring topology, you can have a hub and spoke topology, you can have a layer 2 topology, you can have a layer 3 topology, you can have an MPLS topology. It doesn't restrict you from the topologies at the physical level, or it doesn't restrict you from layer 2, layer 3 kind of a functionality you need to enable on the network. But the key is how easy it is to manage. I have 500 switches in a campus, but I pour complete 500 switches in a campus looks me as a single logical switch. Just a one switch to manage, a single fabric to manage the campus. Now what happens? Now we can make the network agile. Now we can make the network a lot of dynamism. That you can do. Right? So this is how it happens. I have put more of technical slides in this particular point because how it is provisioned, how it pushes on to the satellites. So it's all done. So why I put the slide is to say that it is already done and it is already available in the market. Right? So another key in the campus, what we are looking at is people are talking about programmable switches. Today we are not talking about just a switch which comes out with certain features, A, B, C, D, E, F features. No. Today the industry is talking about programmable switches. What do you mean by programmable switches? That means to adapt to any trend or technology which comes in future. The ASICs are defined, ASICs are configured in such a way that any trend, any technology which comes in future, you can define it. That is what is known as programmable switch. There is a lot of automation you can do. You can put your own applications onto it. There is no restriction that you need to work with the same frame of features what it provides. It provides a lot of openness architecture. It provides you to put your own applications onto it. It provides you to put your own automation kind of applications onto it. You can enable NVGRE for example. You can enable MPLS GRE for example. Tomorrow if there is a new technology comes in, you can enable it. The ASIC is able to program itself. So these are the things which we are seeing in the next generation campus networks. It is not just a steel switch with so many things, right? So, in our terms, when we follow any OEM when they talk about SDN, we call it as S3DN. Always it is system, software, silicon, and the defined network. Because you need to have the software, right? You need to have some silicon to do the forwarding and to provide the performance, and you need to have systems to bring the network. Right? So these are the things. So today if you look at the orchestration part, the integration part with the open flow, and the silicon which is programmable to get any kind of new technologies to adapt. So these are the things. So taking it forward, the next what we are looking in the campus is the virtualization. Right? Today I can't just define VLANs and say it is virtualized. No. We need to look at a lot of things. We need to look at device partition. Because I tell you why. Network partition and device aggregation. I tell you why. Because today ODCs, multiple ODCs will come up. Pilot ODCs will come up. There is ODCs which are running already. You need to logically partition on your network. This is something known as logical as per that particular requirement. So you're logically virtualizing the network as and when is required. For example, in airports, you need for baggage handling system, you need for security, you need for boarding. So there is so many networks inside the airports, you need to virtualize it. So these are the things which makes up the virtualization as a key concept in the campus networks. At the end, you can't neglect BYOD. Never. So when you do BYOD, coordinated security is very important. So how I can? So for example, if it's an employee-owned device, I don't want to run this, I want to run this. As earlier speaker said, there are two interfaces for BYOD. One is the MDM, which is on the outbound interface. Another is the infrastructure, which is your software interface. Those two have to interact. And they have to interact very well, and they should have good APIs as well. They don't need a BYOD concept to be really good. So for an example, if an employee joins a company and you give a certificate, right? And you give a, and he will have an employee owned or a corporate owned device. Then what the IT will do is, he will just puts his phone number into the MDM, and then the email is sent to the employee, right? With all the link and everything in that email. And once he clicks that link to the MDM, there is a client which will be downloaded from the MDM to the device. And what the employee has to do, employee will put the credentials and then he gets registered. Okay, this is the simple steps for BYOD. Very clear. He comes, he puts a phone number, he gets a client, he registers, and he puts his credentials, he gets registered. What happens next? Next is the key. Because if you have registered him, when you register him, what happens? His device attributes, his posture of the device is being pulled by the MDM client and pushed into the MDM. The complete attributes of his device, complete posture of his device has been pulled and pushed into the MDM. Now what IT guy can do? He can map his role policies according to those attributes and postures. Correct? So Rajesh, I have a device, I have these attributes. For example, this is my iOS version, this is my Android version, this is my manufacturer, this is my UI ID. Right? Now IT as IT guy, I will provision the policies looking at those attributes and postures. After that, when he comes and connects to the network, first he does the 8.2.1x authentication, and then the access control, which actually talks to MDM on the northbound interface, will dynamically push those policies to the switches, to the wireless, and to the security. Dynamically. You don't have to configure anything. Okay? So I got the device attributes, I got the posture of the device, I define the roles and policies for that particular user, and once he does the 8.2.1x authentication, immediately the access control will start pushing the policies to your network. So it just pushes everything. To the wireless. I don't see this is coming up, but sorry. So then using a SIEM, you can track what is the applications he is using, what is the volume of the application, what is the bandwidth he is using, everything you can track. It is all done there. You don't have to calculate anything static. That's what I'm saying. So for example, if he downloads anything which is not compliant to the corporate policy, what happens? That is also key for the security. Immediately the MDM client will inform the MDM that he is violating the policy. Right? So after that, MDM will inform the access control that this user is violating the policy. And immediately the policy server will dynamically push a policy to load him out of the network or push him to clear remediation. So automatically. And then that policy is enforced across all the devices in the network. And immediately it is make it right, and then come back. Right? So this is what happens. This is what we talk about BYOD as a concept and BYOD over enable over campus networks. Right? So there are course takings I don't want to take back. That means the device attributes, the device posters, it can check before it is activity into the network. Right? That's what happens. So guest user, like when the guest user comes in, he connects into an open SSID, and then automatically he will be redirected to a portal. Right? In the portal, he can put his username and password at how much time he wants to use the internet. Once he puts that, again dynamically, the access control will push the policies for the user saying that he will get only the internet connectivity and nothing else. Simple. This is what we talk about guest user. So unknown device connects, he redirects to the portal, and then he puts the self-registration, maybe SMS or maybe a mail or whatever it comes to, and then he gets connected. So temporary password. So simple. That's it. There are also technologies available today. If you have a certificate-based authentication for the devices and the users, there are technologies available where the client goes in, sits in the device, configures the client certificate, handshakes with the public key and the server certificate, does the other credentials, and dissolves inside the device. So IT doesn't have to take that effort that whenever a user comes in, I'll put the client certificate, then I'll do a handshake, then I'll see whether it's all the right user who is coming in, is authenticated, his certificate, digital certificate, like signal, his management is that, and then I'll do 8.2.1x, and then I'll allow him to the network. No? It's just a client, and you can push it, and then you can connect it. So the client will do everything and resolves. And also, have you heard of containerization of IT, like apps? Enterprise can have apps, build apps on MDM, and then those apps can be pushed onto the device as a container. When the employee leaves, you can pull the entire container out, or you can dissolve the entire container inside the device. So the user will not have any access to those containers. And people are talking to, I was seeing the questions, IPsec VPN, SSL VPN. Today, the customers are talking about app VPNs. Not even SSL, not even IPsec. We are talking about app VPNs. App VPNs means I build applications, apps on the MDM. The MDM creates a container. It pushes the container with so many apps into the device, and there is a VPN which is being connected only to access those apps and that container. This is known as app VPN. So people are talking about app VPNs, containerization of apps, those kind of things in the device. Sorry, I think I made a lot of time. And this is anywhere, anytime access. I don't have to do it. Then the application visibility. Today we are talking about app secure visibility of the ASL, right? And automated provisioning, the complete lifecycle management. And Juniper has an end-to-end solution. Finally, I have to say this because I'm completely product. We have a solution which provides for the entire features what I spoke about. It may be wireless, it may be wired, it may be security, it may be BYOD, it may be automated provisioning, it may be data center, orchestration of the data center. Yesterday, if you have seen the news, there was a big article that SDN Montreal has been made as an open source from Juniper. So that was a big, and it was well accepted in the industry. So I just wanted to say about it. And then one of the ITAS company, I was just had to do a case study, but simple. So that's what I was talking about, how we can make it. So ours is a simply connected, or what we call it as a simply connected solution for all this, what I talk about next generation apps. Thank you. Any questions?
Thank you. So we have time for just a couple of questions. So Rajesh had a very extensive presentation, lots of technology in it. But we'll be around and we can answer very technical queries if we could take offline, and if you want some strategic or those kind of information, he's happy to provide us some. Yeah.
traditional network to HCM kind of ready network. Now, if that is the case, what are the kind of applications you need to first take out the kind of applications where you feel like deploying a SDN ready and then moving into slowly the environment?
Correct. Some of the applications what we can look at is, as I was talking about the security application, you want to do OS mechanisms, you want to do ACLs, right? Today ACL will be one of the, like in open flow, I can push all those into the devices at the edge so that I don't have to go and configure it myself in every device. So taking the control, right? And second thing, what you're talking about is the open flow. Open flow is only a way to do the SDN architecture. Because today people are even talking about the XMPP, okay? Yeah, messaging protocol, which is very easy to implement. So other than the open flow, XMPP is the one which people are talking about, and even people are talking about using BGP itself as one of the mechanisms in terms of taking the this applications and pushing it onto the devices on the body. So today what we see is that orchestrating the security parameters, orchestration in the management parameters, right? Those things can be pushed. But what happens is you need to look at your network design. There must be some intelligence also in the forwarding planes, not actually taking the entire control plane and sitting it in one place, right? So that is, you can do it, but when you look at a network, when there is a north-south kind of a traffic going on, then you need to have some intelligence in those devices as well. That's why we say that there should be some silicon and systems to be laid in place.
It comes handy in terms of interoperability and also like
Correct.
about BGP, IGR, it's all devices and
Correct. Oh, we also adapt to open flow, but the only what we see in the open flow is that you need to have a lot of add-back mechanisms which needs to go in open flow. Okay. So if I want to go more technical,
So I think
yeah, instead of that you can have
you can have it offline, and
yeah.
I'm sure you can provide all these clarifications.
Yeah.
Maybe. So any other? Yeah. Sorry, last time.
This is Rajesh here. I work in Royal Bank of Scotland, and the kind of networks that we have, it's kind of a spaghetti network at the moment. And this SDN things looks very promising. So if I have to ask you for some kind of a data in terms of what kind of investments will be required if I want to do it, let's say, for a certain geography, or and what is the ROI? What is the payback period?
Exactly. I need to take some time because it's a very good question.
Okay,
So I'll just say in 2 minutes that you don't have to invest much. Okay, you need to invest is just a simple 1U or a 2U kind of hardware. Okay, but there's a lot of software which you need to install on your network to make it SDN ready. Okay, and that's not very heavy. It's not costly or it's not very high in price. But that makes very easy to move towards SDN. Because what happens is the controller will talk to your orchestration like Puppet or OpenStack, and below it talks to the XMPP and the BGP. So you need to have small clients on those devices with a one hardware of controller which can immediately move into your SDN ready or a SDN kind of a network readiness. So it's not that, and it's not that very expensive. So that's the way, because that's what I was saying yesterday, we made it as well as an open source, so you can pull it out with open source and put it at the
Okay, so Hitesh, to please connect with Rajesh,
Yeah.
during the break. I'm sure he can give you more specific answer for your situation. So, but thank you for the question. I'm sorry, we are running slightly behind schedule. So, thank you, Rajesh, for a wonderful presentation.